to Chapter Storytime, where we will be reading another chapter of The Wizard in My Shed by Simon Farnaby, illustrated by Claire Powell and read with the kind permission of Hodder Publishers. And when I left you last time, we were halfway through a chapter where Merdyn had turned into a giant wizard, Jerebow had turned into a giant wizard, and they were fighting at Stonehenge. Rose was in danger. It was all very dramatic. So let's pick up where we left off. Are you ready? Jerebow threw a lightning bolt. Crack! It missed Merdyn and hit one of the army trucks, and the truck burst into flames and soldiers spilled out. Julian laughed. Oops-a-daisy. No, shouted Merdyn, don't hurt them. What? Giant Jerebow bellowed in disbelief. Thou actually careth about these people, and thou careth about these weak, insipid, magicless creatures? There are good people here, said Merdyn. I have seen more goodness in them than I have ever seen in thou. But Jerebow was in no mood to chat. Shh! He threw a fireball at Merdyn. Double shh! Merdyn threw one right back. Jerebow summoned a shield spell, however, and the fireball rebounded towards Merdyn, setting the end of his beard ablaze. The evil wizard slapped his thighs guffawingly, and the sound reverberated like thunderclaps across the landscape. Merdyn wasn't cowed, though. He spun, brandished Thundarian boldly, and hurled an ice spell at the chuckling Jerebow. Galida glacia forostora! Bring! Suddenly, Jerebow was encased in an oversized block of ice, and he looked like an iceberg. Rose whooped. Woo-woo! In homes and pubs and offices across the planet, people cheered. In the White House, the president sent a direct order to the Pentagon. Someone bring me some popcorn. This is going to be a heck of a show. Not one to miss a party. At this moment, Freddie arrived at Stonehenge shouting, Hi, I'm Merdyn's agent. For personal appearances, please call this number. And handing out business cards to anyone who'd take one. He threw a thumbs up at Merdyn. Keep going, Merds. This is great publicity. Bank. But Jerebow wasn't finished just yet. Suddenly he burst out from within his frozen prison, scattering shards of ice into the air that plummeted into the landscape like darts in a dartboard. Then he disappeared. Merdyn looked round desperately. Where had the villainous giant gone? Crack! The blow came out of nowhere and Merdyn flew sideways. Whack! Merdyn had just got back up when he was knocked on his backside. Bonk! Smack! Hoof! Two could play at that game. Barbarian invisible artist, Merdyn roared. Now Merdyn was also invisible. The two magicians wrestled and grappled loudly and invisibly until they realised that this meant neither had any advantage anymore. They reappeared looking significantly more battered and bruised, much to the watching crowd's delight. In a sudden dastardly move, Jerebow plucked one of the rounder Stonehenge rocks from where it had stood for 5,000 years and bowled it along the floor at Merdyn. The nimble Warlock jumped so the rock tumbled past and hit 3 other giant boulders, sending them spinning into the air like bowling pins. Nice roll, great etc., Grandad, shouted Julian. But this gave Merdyn an excellent idea. He whispered a new spell he'd invented only a few days earlier when cheating at 10-pin bowling against Chris and Freddie. Transformus bolus bolus! Rose, her family and the world watched in amazement as Merdyn began to transform. At first his body folded forward, then it tucked inward and scrunched into, well, a ball. By the time the change was complete, there was a giant shiny purple patch bowling ball resting on the grass with a pointy hat sitting on the top. The ball hurtled towards the bamboozled Jerebow at speeds beyond comprehension, a purple blur skittling him and the rest of the Stonehenge rocks in all directions. Strike! Called the Queen from Buckingham Palace. A roar of delight went up over the world as Jerebow landed in a broken heap among the heavy stones. Rose jumped so high with relief that she pulled a muscle in her gluteus maximus, her bum. In the little souvenir shop, the scale model artist burst into tears, picked up his beloved works of art which no longer matched, and smashed them on the ground. Merdyn the Wild turned back into the giant version of himself and stood over the stricken Jerebow. And now, perhaps a drink, he said, producing the brown bottle from his belt. At that moment, a car weaved through the wreckage and skidded to a stop in the middle of the site formerly known as Stonehenge. Chris and Shakir climbed out. Rose, where are you? Where's my sister? Chris shouted frantically. You may be embarrassing, but I still love you, and I'm here to rescue you. Chris, I'm here, I'm okay, Rose shouted from where she stood with her mum. Her brother spun round, but could see nothing but toppled stones, smoke, and police helicopters. Julian's devious mind started whirring. "Chris, over here! I'll take you to your sister," he cooed. "Thanks," said Chris in relief, and before Shakya could stop him, he jogged blithely towards the ex-magician. "No!" cried Rose. She let go of her helpless mum and ran towards her brother. "Rose, stay back!" Merdyn shouted. But it was too late. As Rose and her brother converged on each other and came within Julian's grasp, Julian grabbed his spellbook, muttered something desperately, and whoosh! Rose and Chris were encased in another block of ice. Susie howled, "Oh!" Uncle Martin and Shakya had to hold her back from running over and putting herself in danger too. "Ha!" Julian crowed. "And they told me I couldn't act. Take that, Royal Shakespeare Company." And he turned to Merdyn. "Now let me get my great blah 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 grandfather go, or these kids are burnt toast." He crackled some lightning from his fingertips and laughed an evil laugh. "Ha ha ha ha! I think the Royal Shakespeare Company were right. He was a bit hammy." Merdyn backed away. He couldn't risk any harm coming to Rose and Chris. "Great etc., Grandad!" shouted Julian. "That brown bottle in Merdyn's hand, it's a disenchantment potion, and it will take away your powers. He tried to use it on me at the theatre." Jerobo pulled himself back onto his giant feet and looked at Merdyn, reluctantly impressed. "'Tis true?" he asked. "Thou hast perfected the disenchantment potion? In that case, how about a bargain?" "I will not bargaineth with thee," cried Merdyn. "Really?" said Jerobo. "We have thine precious Rose and her idiot brother thou carest so much about." From inside the ice, Rose tried to wriggle free. God, it was cold in there. "But what if we did goeth back in time together, and liveth in peace, me and thou, leaving everyone here unharmed?" Jerobo continued. "Thou can marry Evanhart, everybody's happy." "And what do thou wanteth in return?" Merdyn asked suspiciously. "To be king?" Merdyn laughed. "Ho! "I jesteth not," said Jerobo. "I shall overthroweth King Paul, and thou will letteth me." "But I would never let thee do such a thing. My powers are too much for thee," Merdyn rasped indignantly. "I knoweth this." Jerobo paused for dramatic effect, knowing he had Rose, her class, the police, the army, the president, the queen, the whole world hanging on his words. "Which is why thou art going to drink the contents of that bottle and lose thy powers forever instead." The watching world gasped. "If you keepeth fighting, you will loseth," Jerobo said. "There are two of us after all, and when thou loseth, thou wilt dieth without descendants, and these two children will disappeareth from the face of the earth forever." "Like in Back to the Future," whispered Dion to Rose's mum. "This is no time to talk about films, Dion," Susie shrieked. "No, listen. If Merdyn doesn't go back and live out his life as planned, Rose and Chris will never have existed." "Or me," said Martin, and he checked his arm to see if he was already disappearing. Jerobo smiled meanly. "I'm offering you a way to guarantee your progeny, Merdyn," he said. "Drink the bottle, and we all goeth safely home." Rose could hear all this from inside the ice. She was nearly blue with cold, but silently screaming for Merdyn not to drink the spell. She didn't trust Jerobo one bit. But Merdyn knew Jerobo was right. If he lost his fight, then Rose and Chris were doomed. "Set them free first," he said, gesturing towards the ice. "Do as he saith, my many times great-grandson," ordered Jerobo. Julian threw a fireball at Rose and Chris, and they fell soaking wet from their melted icy tomb. "Don't trust him, Merdyn," cried Rose through shivering lips. "I must ensure your safety, youngling." Merdyn looked at Rose and Chris and smiled bravely. Then with a heavy heart he lifted the bottle to his lips and drank the disenchantment potion. "No!" screamed Rose as Merdyn shrank back to his normal size. The light in his bright blue eyes went out and they became grey-black. "Excellent!" Jerobo kicked Thundarian aside. He picked up the weakened Merdyn between his finger and thumb and dropped him onto the altar in the middle of the ruined stone monument. "What are you doing?" shouted Rose. "Me? Oh, I am going to kill Merdyn, of course," said Jerobo casually. "You were quite right. 'Twas a trick. Merdyn really should know better than to trust me. Now I shall go back and rule my world. Julian shall rule this one, and the only person who could have stopped us has been rendered powerless. I just loveth it when a plan cometh together. The world, the Pope, the President and Queen all prayed for a hero to undo what they'd just seen. I'm going to leave it there. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen to everyone? What's going to happen to the world? Join me last time for the very last chapters of Merdyn the Wild. Bye.